Hello?
What's going on?
How are you doing? Are you a Christian?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right. What do you want to talk about?
I'm not really sure. I just joined to really have a chat, to be honest.
The topic is God is great if you ignore all of the bad.
What are some of the bad that you believe in?
The bad things that God does in the Bible, like slavery and genocide and murder and supporting rape and supporting infanticide, commanding babies to be killed, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
You think that's all bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's not good.
So your God is not all good?
I never said that.
Well, if God is all good, then everything he commands or supports is good, right?
Yeah.
So all of those things are good to you.
No, because that was bad, what you just said.
But God thinks those things are good.
He does? No, he doesn't.
Yeah, so God supports slavery. He supports rape. He commands babies to be killed.
He did not own slaves.
He supports the Israelites owning slaves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh.
And if he didn't want the Israelites to own slaves, he would have said don't own slaves. But he gave them very specific rules and instructions on how to practice slavery.
Oh. I didn't know that he had slaves. That's interesting.
Have you ever read your Bible?
Yeah, many times.
You didn't read about the slavery or the infanticide or God commanding babies to be killed or God saying you're allowed
I usually just skip those parts, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why you think God is great, because you ignore all the bad.
Yeah, I try to ignore the bad in my life to make my life happy, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. But
you have a good one.
Okay, you too. Thank you. Yeah, God is great. If you just skip right all past the bad, guys, right? Skip right over all the bad. God is great. Keep tapping those likes, everybody. Hello?
All right, yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, how old are you?
I'm 18.
All right, what you got for us?
Yeah, I just want to say, for someone who doesn't believe in Christianity, you sure talk about it a lot and just shit on the religion. Just seems kind of like you're obsessed, and I think you're just. I think you believe in God. I think you just deny him. You know, I just think that's what atheists are. Just people who deny God. They know he exists. You know,
tiny violin until he's done crying. Are you done crying?
You should come to Jesus, bro. You really should.
Are you done crying, sir?
I'm not crying. You just shit on Christianity all day.
Okay, let's talk about some of the things that you're gonna say that are good, even though they're bad. Right? Slavery. Is that good or bad?
Everything that God commands and everything that God does is good. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into the specifics of it.
So the biblical slavery or the biblical rape, all of that was good.
Yeah. So God's laws, God's commands, they are all good.
So if God says you're allowed to capture a woman and take her to your house and rape her, that's good.
Listen, God is the standard of good, so he defines what is good. So
you get your morality from God?
Yeah, where do you get your morality from, bro? You don't have morality.
From my empathy, the empathy of the consequences of my actions.
Yeah, so if a rapist
you need a dusty old book to know whether
can you prove a rapist is objectively wrong?
No, I don't believe in objective morality.
So a child rapist is not objectively wrong.
There are no objective moral truths. You can't prove it. You can't prove that.
Wait, so it's not wrong. It's not really wrong to rape a child. Is what you're telling me?
I didn't say that. I said it's subjectively wrong to me, but I can't.
So
prove.
it's not really actually wrong. It's just wrong to you.
You didn't listen to what I said. You cannot prove that it's objectively wrong. Go ahead and prove it. I'd like you to prove it.
No, I'm asking you a question. Do you think?
You're making the claim
it is objectively wrong to rape a child.
There are no objective moral truths. I cannot prove that, and neither can you. So go ahead and demonstrate.
Under your worldview, there's really raping a child's not really wrong.
I did. You didn't listen to a word I said. In my worldview, it's wrong to me, but I can't prove to you that it's objectively wrong, independent of mind. Do you know what objective means?
Yeah, it's wrong no matter what.
Right, so go ahead and prove that your Christian morality is objective.
No, you're trying to switch the burden onto me. You just said it's not wrong to rape a child.
I'm not making any claims here. I'm not making any positive claims. You're the one claiming that you have objective morality from the Christian God.
I'm asking you the question. You don't really think it's wrong to rape a child.
You can't.
That's your view.
I've already answered this.
Insane, bro.
I've already answered this question.
That's insane, my guy.
I told you it's wrong to me, right? But obviously it's not wrong to you, because you would say it's good when God commands little kids to be captured and raped in Numbers 31, 17 through 18.
Yeah,
or when God
God's the
says
standard of good. Yep, he's the standard of good. He defines
right. So
what is good.
so how are you going to come on here and try to like tell me like
you just shit on Christianity. You do this all day.
Bro, can you just stop crying? Just relax, calm down. You're claiming that your Christian morality is objective, so demonstrate that, please. Prove it.
Yeah, God's the standard of good. God defines what is good, so therefore everything that God commands and does is good. Simple.
So that's a nice circular argument you have there.
Yeah. So from my framework, what defines good is God. What God defines good. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
Prove that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's under my worldview. So.
Oh, so it's not objective, right?
I mean, if you accept the Christian worldview, it is.
Oh, well then it's not objective. It's subjective if you accept it.
No, I mean, because I hold to the Christian worldview. So
yeah, but if I don't accept it,
it's subjective.
But it would be whether or not it would be objectively true whether or not somebody like agreed to it or not. That's what it means to be objective, standard, independent of mind. So what you're saying is that you just agreed that your Christian morality, your worldview is subjective. You have to accept it for it to be true. So you just agreed.
It's not subjective. Jesus is the truth. Christianity is the truth, and
Prove
that's all
that.
you do all day. You just shit on Christianity. I mean, you believe in God. You just reject them. You believe in God. Let's be honest.
I'll tell you this: if you were to prove the existence of your God to me, I would acknowledge that it is real, but I would never worship your God. I would never want a relationship with your God.
Yeah, you would. Let's not lie.
No,
you would.
I am morally superior to your God. Why would I want?
Come on, bro. You know you're just lying right now. Let's be honest.
because
you
I think
worship him.
I think slavery is wrong. Your God doesn't. I think murder is wrong. Your God doesn't. I think rape is wrong. Your God doesn't. I think killing babies is wrong. Your God doesn't. Your God, in fact, does all of those things.
Yeah, so you're making a lot of claims. So let's.
No, I could back every single one of those up with scripture if you'd like to.
Yeah, so you're just going to cherry pick verses from the Old Testament, okay?
Let's go over them. Well, let's go over them.
You can do that.
Would you like to go over them?
Because you study the Bible all day long. Like, I don't do that. I just believe in God. And,
I don't study it. I just know what it says.
Yeah, because this is what you do all day. You just shit on Christians, and this is your platform.
Well, I'm kind of looking to have debates, so if you don't want to debate, I'm just going to go to the next person.
Well, we know you
okay?
believe in God, so that's all I'm saying.
Prove that. Prove that I believe in God.
Everybody in their heart knows that God's real.
You're just making a lot of claims right now, so go ahead and prove it.
Everybody knows.
That's not proof, sir. That's just another claim.
Atheists know that God is real. They just deny him. Let's be honest.
That's a claim. That's a claim. Prove it.
I just know it. The Bible says it.
That's circular.
I believe in the Bible.
You believe in talking donkeys?
I mean, there are some allegories, so.
You believe that a virgin was impregnated by a ghost?
Absolutely. It's a miracle. Do you believe
how old are you?
Came from something?
Well, yeah, you are still. You said you're 18, right? So you're basically a kid.
I'm 18. Yeah.
Well, you're still basically a kid. So maybe when you grow up a little bit, you'll stop believing in fantasies and fairy tales.
Tell that to the 3 billion Christians.
3 million Christians?
3 billion.
3 billion Christians. What is that?
Go tell that to the Christians. All the Christians.
So 3 billion people believe in something. What does that prove?
You know, atheism is the minority, right?
What does that prove? That
like
3 billion.
You're the minority, bro. Like you're the odd one out. You know that, right?
Well, so are you trying to do like a Pascal's wager right now?
I mean, not necessarily. I'm just saying you're the minority.
Do you know what Pascal's wager is?
Yeah, I do.
What is it?
Saying you have nothing to lose to believe in God, so you should just believe just in case God's real. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that applies to you just as much as it applies to me. Because there's like 4,000 gods out there that people worship. So how do you know that your God's the one true God?
Yeah. There's not 4,000 gods. There's one God. His name's Jesus Christ. He died on the cross.
That's just a claim.
Your sins.
There's over 4,000 recognized religions and gods.
You know what happened. You study the Bible. You know what happened. You know it's historical fact.
Are you pro-life?
Yeah. What's it have to do with the topic?
Well, God is great if you ignore all the bad. So I'd like to point out the hypocrisy of your Christian pro-life stance. If you are pro-life.
Yeah, I don't think killing babies in the womb is like a good thing. You know? Do you?
What about killing newborn babies?
Yeah, for humans, I don't think that's a good thing.
So it's always wrong for humans to kill a newborn baby?
Absolutely.
What if God commands them to do it?
God's the standard of good, so I mean, if God commands something, then it's good.
So it's not always wrong for a human to kill a baby. Now you're contradicting yourself.
With commandment from God, it is fine.
So it's not always wrong for a human to kill a baby. Would you like to change your stance on that now?
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna apply to that one exception,
So,
sure.
so let's try it again. Is it always wrong for a human to kill a newborn baby?
I mean, I guess I could say no if there's one
No,
scenario.
no. It's not always wrong for a human to kill a newborn baby.
Yeah, so if God commands it, then it's good. That's my stance. I just explained this.
So what if God revealed himself to you and commanded you to kill a baby? Would you do it?
Yeah, I would do anything that God would tell me to do, since
You would do anything? God, you would grape your own mother if God commanded you to?
Listen, God is the creator of life. You know, he's got a
Preach mode. Preach
he's the
mode.
creator of life. You know,
Preach mode activated. Wait, you said you would literally do anything God commanded you to. So like, let's
Yeah,
test
God's
that.
the creator of life. God's the creator of
let's-
this universe. We wouldn't exist without him. So
I want to push how far. I want to push how far you're willing to take this. Would you grape your own mother if God commanded you to?
I would do anything God commanded me to do.
So yes, you would grape your mother.
I just answered your question. I would do anything that God commanded me to do.
You would grape your own newborn baby.
Okay, I just answered your question like 3 times. I would do
So
anything
yes.
that God told me to do.
Yeah, that's
if
wild.
If it's a commandment from God, he's the standard of good, so I'm going to do what is good.
Typical standard Christian here is saying that they would harm somebody if God commanded them to.
I mean,
This is why we have a
ironic
problem with
since you don't have morality, dude.
This is sure I do.
No, you don't.
You failed to demonstrate that your morality is objectively independent of mind. You failed to demonstrate that.
Yeah, I didn't attempt to.
Well, I said prove it. You said the Bible, God.
Well, you know God's real. You know, I'm just gonna.
How do I know God's real?
Yeah, you know He's in your heart and He loves
How do
you.
I know? How do I know? What makes you think I know that?
Because you do this all day.
You
shit on Christians, and you know this is.
You don't even know.
What you do is you build your platform off this.
Wait, you don't even know that God's real.
Absolutely, I do.
Oh, so you don't have faith then?
I have faith, but I also have
No.
evidence.
What? No, wait. You don't need faith if you know. Faith is believing without knowing.
All right, I would say I know. I've had personal
Oh,
experiences.
so you know for a fact that God's real. You don't have any faith.
I don't need faith since I know He's real.
Yeah. So how do you know? Demonstrate that. Because now you're making a positive claim that you know.
Personal experiences.
So like a Muslim has personal experiences with Allah. Does that make his God true?
So that would be like a demon or like an angel. I mean, not like an angel. It'd be
What?
like a demon or like a false.
Like the ancient Greeks, they had personal experiences with their Greek gods. Does that make their gods true and yours wrong?
No, those should be like demons.
Why are you not accepting their standard of evidence? It's the exact same standard of evidence that you have. The personal
because
experiences.
there's one true God, and His name is Jesus Christ.
But you haven't proven that though.
Well, I just know it, and I think you do too.
But how do you know it? You can't just say I know it because I know it.
Because of my personal experiences.
But that's not evidence because
Yeah, it is to me.
Because a
all I
Muslim
need.
somebody has a personal experience with Bigfoot, that makes Bigfoot true.
Dude, if you went through the stuff I went through, you would believe in God too. That's all I'd say. If you had the same personal experiences, you would too.
But you didn't say you believe in God. You said you know God's real. So how do you know? How do you know it?
Because of my experiences in life.
But personal experiences aren't going to be evidence because a
Yeah,
Muslim.
They're not to you, but they are to me.
So a Muslim who has a personal experience with Allah, his God's true?
No, it's like a demon.
What? The personal experience, when it comes to you, personal experience is fine. But when it comes to somebody else's God, nope, that's a demon. Do you hear yourself? Hello, are you there? All right. That guy said he would grape his own mother if God commanded him to. He said he would grape his own newborn child if God told him to. That is fucking wild. Everyone, please click the follow button, guys, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube if you want to watch the full live stream on YouTube. Go back and listen to what this guy just said. This fucking Christian just said he would grape his own mother if God commanded him to. He said he would literally do anything God commanded him to do. It's scary that it's so scary that we live amongst these people. Like, these people are our neighbors, like our coworkers. Like, what? But guys, I'm almost at 600 subs on YouTube, so make sure you go to my bio and subscribe to my YouTube. I'm almost at 600 subscribers on there, guys. Let's get another guest up in here, everybody. Hope you guys are having a good day today. Make sure you guys are spamming those likes, guys, and make sure you're following if you're not already following, and share the live, please, if you haven't shared already. What's up, Days? Thanks for shouting at the YouTube, everybody. Champ, relax, champ. Relax, champ. That guy got my dog all riled up. Let's see if we can get some guests in here, everybody. I've got like 15 guest requests, but they're not loading in here. Only send a guest request if you are a Christian and 18 plus. Only send a guest request if you're a Christian and 18 plus.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Are you a Christian?
I am Christian.
All right. God is great if you ignore all the bad.
That is incorrect. What you're referring to in Numbers is God's plan for the Israelites to oppress a demonic people that had laid with a demonic presence. And the reason why that bloodline had to be eliminated was because it was a hybrid mixed bloodline.
That's the same exact excuse that Schmittler used to commit genocide against the Jews. He said they were mixed blood hybrids. They weren't fully human. Is this the type of mindset you want to have that promotes genocide?
So the Baalites actually, their whole charge was the fact that they raped children or graped children, and they...
Who are you talking about?
The Baalites, the people in Numbers that the Israelites...
Numbers 31 is talking about the Midianites.
Yes, who were Baalites. They worshipped Baal.
Okay, what verse says that they were raping their children?
No, you were the one that claimed...
No, God. I claim that God says you're allowed to capture young virgin girls.
A demonic presence, and this is the reason why the Israelites were called. These are all historical things. You're acting like God.
So God
is
supports
promoting this.
God supports it. God said they're allowed to do this.
God said in
Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy 21, God says you're allowed to capture a woman in battle and take her to your house and make her your wife. That's kidnapping and raping a woman.
It's actually a sign of mercy in saying that these people, they're fallen. It's a form.
So Christian, if somebody saw your mother in battle and thought she was beautiful and captured your mother, killed your mother's parents and captured her and took her to his house and let her cry for her dead parents for 1 month, and then after that he went into your mother and forced her to be your wife, has your mother been kidnapped and raped at that point?
So again, you're taking historical.
No, I'm not even talking about the Bible right now. Let's just say like your mom's in a civilization where there's a war going on, and one of the soldiers sees her and thinks she's beautiful and desires her for a wife, and he captures her and takes her home and lets her mourn for her family for 30 days, and then goes into her and makes her his wife. Has your mother been captured and raped at that point?
So I follow God, and God would not permit this on somebody that is a father.
We're not even talking about God right now or the Bible. I'm just asking you if somebody saw your mother in time of war and captured her and took her home and went into her and made her his wife, has your mother been captured and raped?
Of course she has. That is what's happened.
Oh, she has. Okay, so we're very clear on that is capturing and raping a woman, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so Deuteronomy 21, 10 through 14, God says you're allowed to see a beautiful woman in battle and take her, if you desire for her a wife, capture her, bring her to your house, let her mourn for her dead parents for 30 days, and then you can go into her and make her your wife. So God supports grape. God supports his soldiers capturing and raping women.
So again, what you're referring to is laws that were placed on the Israelites. The Israelites were a chosen people from God.
Yes, God supports them. God supports them going out and capturing women and raping them, yes.
No, he does not support them raping.
No? Wait, did God not say they're allowed to do this?
No.
Oh, really? Let's read it, okay? This is marrying a woman taken in battle. Deuteronomy 21, 10 through 14. Do you have your Bible with you?
I don't.
So this is in your Bible, okay? This is God's word, right? When you go out to battle against those who hate you, and the Lord your God gives them to you, and you make them go with you, and you see a beautiful woman and have desire for her as a wife, take her to your house. There she will cut off her hair, and cut off her nails, and cut off her clothes, which she wore when you took her away, and stay in your house. She will have sorrow for her father and mother for 1 month. After that you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife.
So again, what this is referring to is the chosen people of Israel. And so when you look at the laws that God had placed on the Israelites, he set them apart, and he set them to preserve the bloodline of the Israelites.
So you're agreeing that God told his soldiers they're allowed to capture women and rape them?
So again, these are interpretations, and these are historical documents that were put into play.
Sir, I read it to you, and before we even talked about this verse, I used your mother as an example, and you said, yes, your mother at that point has been captured and raped. Now, I'm reading it word for word, the exact same scenario that I used it for your mother. It's in your Bible where God says that his soldiers are allowed to do this to women in battle.
So he's referring to societies that, again, had been fallen and were taken by demonic oppression.
So God supports his soldiers capturing women and raping them.
So when it comes to eliminating a demonic oppression,
Can you just answer yes or no?
no.
Wait, so let's read it again. Let's read it again. Let's read it again.
There's no need to read it again.
Okay, well, I'm going to read it again because you're just being ignorant and you're being stubborn right now. You got the God goggles on, right? When I used your mother as an example, you said, yes, my mother has been captured and raped, right? Now I read it to you from your Bible where God says you're allowed to do this to women. And you're saying this is not God supporting this. This is what God says you're allowed to do in battle. You can see a beautiful woman, and if you desire her for a wife, you can capture her, take her to your house, and after 30 days, you can go into her and force her to be your wife. When I use your mother as an example, you said, yes, my mom has been captured and raped. Now that I'm actually telling you this is in your book. No, that's not God supporting rape. Do you see the dishonesty that you're displaying here? How disingenuous you're being here?
Yeah, again, so what we're referring to here are the Israelites that went into battle.
I know. This is God telling the Israelites they're allowed to capture women in battle and rape them.
So what God is attempting to do here within the Israelites is to spread the Israelite kingdom and to
by raping women. By raping women?
So again, as a Christian, what you have to believe is that God's divine purpose is
Preach mode. Preach mode activated. Preach mode activated.
You say that I'm stubborn, sir. You are the one that is so stubborn, and you refuse.
Is this good? Is this good when God says you can capture a woman and rape her? Is that good?
Why do you got to put it into context of good and bad? Like you have no idea.
Is this moral? Because your God is immoral. Your God is great, right? If you ignore all the bad, like where he allows you to capture women and rape them.
There's not ignoring bad. It's an understanding.
You're ignoring this. Is God great? Is God great?
God is 1,000% great. Yeah.
So when God says you're allowed to capture women and rape them in battle, is that good or bad?
He doesn't say I am allowed to do that.
God said this to the ancient Israelites.
Correct. He's not saying that to me.
Yeah. Is that good or bad when God said that they're allowed to do this?
Again, when you look at the divine purpose and
was it good or bad? Was it good or bad when God said that they were allowed to do this?
So, if I was one of these people that was worshiping Baal and into this demonic oppression, and
Christian, I asked you a question, dude. I asked you a yes or no question. Was this good or bad when God said that they were allowed to capture women and rape them?
So again, you are trying to paint it into a context that is good or bad. And
this is bad, Christian. This is bad. Do you think it's good to capture a woman and rape her?
No, I don't think it is a...
Okay.
In today's context, if you were to go out and do this in today's context...
Wait. Your God never changes. So if your God thinks that this is more...
God changed when he brought Jesus forth and made him a sacrifice.
Well, the Bible says God never changes. The Bible says that God is the same today, tomorrow, and forever, that he never changes. And also, isn't Jesus God?
Jesus is a part of the triune God, yes.
Well, okay. Well, Jesus says that not one bit of the Old Testament laws will fall away until the heaven and the earth are gone. And anyone who disobeys these commands will be the least important person in heaven. So,
when you look at
these laws still apply to you today as a Christian.
No, that's not true. The Levitical laws were applied to the Israelites, and the law that Jesus came set forth a new covenant.
This is what Jesus says about the Old Testament writings. Don't think that I have come to destroy the law or the teaching of the prophets. I have not come to destroy the teachings, but to give full meaning to them. I assure you, nothing will disappear from the law until heaven and earth are gone.
Yeah, so
the law will not lose the smallest letter or the smallest part of the letter until it's all been done. A person should obey every command in the old law, even one that does not seem important. Whoever refuses to obey any command and teaches others not to obey it will be the least important person in God's kingdom.
So why have all the laws of the Israelites come to pass then? Why do they no longer follow these laws?
Because we know in today's society that all this shit is barbaric and immoral. That's why your God is barbaric and immoral and a bloodthirsty, violent psychopath that says his soldiers are allowed to capture women and rape them.
It actually immediately happened after the persecution of Jesus. It didn't happen.
What happened? What happened?
The law of the Israelites passed.
Nope.
The veil-
Nope. Jesus says not one bit of the old law will change until the heaven and the earth are gone.
So again, you're referring to different things. You're taking this out of context.
We're talking about the Old Testament writings. This is what Jesus says about the Old Testament writings. Don't think that I've come to destroy the law. I have not come to abolish it. I've come to give meaning to it.
So
nothing will disappear. Nothing will disappear.
The Ten Commandments is still upheld. You are absolutely correct.
This is not talking about the Ten Commandments. Just the Ten Commandments.
That is referring to the Ten Commandments.
This is the old law this is the Mosaic law. This is all of laws that Moses gave to the people from God.
No, that's not true.
So let's read it. Don't think that I have come to destroy the law of Moses or the teachings of the prophets. I have come not to destroy their teachings, but to give full meaning to them. It doesn't say this only applies to the Ten Commandments. You're adding that in.
No, I'm not. The Israelite law.
Where does it mention the Ten Commandments in here?
When you look at the full context of Jesus' teaching, that's
what verse can I find that says that this is talking about just the Ten Commandments?
So when you look at Jesus' full teachings and what he brought forth as the law, that is where you're taking out of context.
Do you always follow Jesus' teachings?
Yes.
Do you have children?
Yes.
Do you hate your children?
No, I do not hate my children.
Oh, well, then you can't be a follower of Christ.
That's not true.
Yeah, Jesus says, anyone who comes to me and does not hate their own kids, their own father, their own mother, their own family, you are not worthy of being my disciple. You cannot follow me.
And again, you're also taking this out of context.
What's the context? What's the context?
The context is that you are to be self-sacrificing.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say that. It says you must hate your family.
So what it's saying is that these things and these.
Let me read it. Let me read it. Let me read it. Let me read it, and I want you to stop me where it talks about self-sacrifice. Okay, stop me when I talk about self-sacrifice. All right. This is the cost of being a disciple. A large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, "If you want to be my disciple, you must hate everyone else: your father, your mother, wife, and children, brothers and sisters. Yes, even hate your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple."
That's where it says self-sacrifice, even to hate yourself. And
yeah. Jesus says you must hate your kids, hate your family, and even hate your own life in order to follow him. Do you hate your family? Do you hate your life, sir?
It's saying that, again, what that is referring to is taking yourself out of a situation where you're able to disseminate your love for the Father.
It doesn't say that. You're adding that. It says to hate your kids. It says to hate your kids, hate your wife, hate your husband, hate your family, hate your own life, hate your parents, hate your entire fucking family. That's the cost of being a disciple.
What that is saying is that you have to be willing to give up everything in order to follow God.
It doesn't say that.
That's what it says.
It says to hate them.
It does not say hate them. You're taking this out of context.
Let me read it again. A large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, "If you want to be my disciple, you must hate everyone, your father, your mother, wife, and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple." So if you don't hate your kids, you're not worthy of following this blood cult leader. He's telling you, hate your kids, hate your family, and come follow me, and come drink my blood and eat my flesh like some kind of weird zombie.
It doesn't say eat my blood and drink my flesh. That is, again, you're taking these things out of context.
Jesus did say to drink his blood. He said, my blood is true drink and my flesh is true food.
No, whenever he sat down at the Last Supper, he was not saying drink my blood.
It's weird. It's cultish. It's culty. It's blood cult. It's cannibal cult.
It's not, brother.
Well, you said you follow Jesus' teachings, and Jesus says you got to hate your kids. So Jesus doesn't want you, actually. You're not worthy of being his follower because you don't hate your family or your kids.
I'm absolutely worthy of being his follower. And to sit here...
Wait. How dare you disagree with Jesus? How dare you? How dare you tell Jesus that you are worthy of him?
So again, one day you will get your wish and be in the absence of God, and it will
Preach mode. Preach mode. Preach mode activated.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Sir, please don't hate your kids. Okay, drop Jesus.
I absolutely love my kids.
I'm glad. So Jesus doesn't want you. So just go back. Just keep focusing on your kids. Jesus doesn't want you unless you hate your kids.
No, Jesus wants us to love and to show his love.
No, he doesn't. He says he wants you to hate your entire fucking family. Keep tapping those likes, everybody. Make sure you follow and make sure you're sharing the live out, guys. And subscribe to my YouTube. Regina, thank you, Regina. Thank you so much, Regina. Regina in the comments, everybody, please. Big W for Regina. Thank you so much, Regina. Hope everyone's having a good day here today.
What's up,
Hello?
bro?
How you doing? Are you a Christian?
No, I just wanted to know that verse that you read. What verse was that? I like that one. That was pretty good.
Which one?
How do you,
Huh?
if you want to be a disciple, you got to hate your kids and your family.
Oh, it's Luke 14:26.
Luke 14.
26.
Hold on.
Luke chapter 14, verse 26.
I like that, bro. I appreciate you, my man.
All right, thank you, man. Appreciate you. I appreciate you. Thank you.
What's up?
How old are you?
23.
All right, are you a Christian?
Yeah, and before we get into it, because I've been listening for a while, I would like to know what you believe in.
I believe in facts.
What do you believe in?
Facts.
Okay.
Factual things that can be demonstrated, proven, and falsified.
Okay, factually, how did humans come into existence?
Humans didn't come into existence. We evolved.
Okay, and at what point did that start to happen? Do you believe in the Big Bang?
Tell me what the Big Bang is.
I'm asking you, dude. You do a circular.
The Big Bang has nothing to do with.
You continue to do circular arguments. You ask a question, you give them about 5 seconds to try to explain something as.
Relax, calm down. Relax.
Whether you believe.
I believe in facts. Now let's talk about your God.
Well, we're having a conversation.
Listen, Caleb. I'm not here to disprove your God. Okay, I'm not here to prove God or disprove your God.
I'm not here to prove God is real because.
Well, then stop asking me where we come from. Let's talk about your God. Even if you were to prove the existence of your God to me, I would say, okay, your God's real. But I would never, ever, ever worship your God. I would never worship the Christian God. Worshiping something is just weird to me. I would never worship any God. It's just weird, for number one. But your God is far more morally inferior to me. I am morally superior than your God and your Bible.
That's not true.
Yes, it is true.
It isn't true.
I think slavery is wrong. Your God doesn't. I think killing babies is wrong. Your God doesn't. I think raping women is wrong. Your God doesn't.
You continue to take pieces of the Bible and different verses.
Everything you've heard me read, prove me wrong. Everything you've heard me read, prove me wrong.
I'm going to tell you something right now. The way that you read the Bible isn't correct.
How do you correctly read it?
You have to read the whole Bible. You can't read.
I've read the whole Bible twice. I've read the whole Bible twice.
All right, dude. Well, the same dude before me was trying to explain some things to you, and then every time he goes to explain it, you go into a quick yes or no question where you try to corner it, so that way.
Caleb, I asked him, is it okay when God says you're allowed to capture a woman and grape them? That's a pretty simple question to ask. I don't need him to go into this tangent of preach mode when I ask you a simple question. Is it okay? Was it good when God said you're allowed to capture a woman in battle and take her to your house and grape her?
All right, dude.
Can you answer that question?
I think he answered it, and I've answered it perfectly fine. That's not.
You did not answer it. I just asked you it. You did not answer it. I just asked you, and you said, all right.
God doesn't tell you to hate your kids or your family.
Luke 14:26. Read it.
Luke 14:26.
Yep. A large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, if you want to be my disciple, you must hate everyone else, your father, your mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple.
You understand what God is trying to say in that?
Jesus is saying, this is the cost of being a disciple. You must hate your entire family, or you're not worthy of following me.
Can I tell you, and I believe that's, in my opinion, I think you have an opinion that that's the way that you read it. However,
I just read what it said. I just read the words.
Okay, well, you're gonna let me explain you're asking me what I think of that. So
don't add any words in though.
I won't. I'm going to tell you what I believe that he's saying there, because I'm not so dense to read it that way. When you've read the entire Bible and you understand who your God is, who my God is, because you don't believe in God.
Wait. When Jesus says you must hate your kids, what does that mean?
Find exactly what you're talking about. 26. You must hate
When Jesus says you must hate your kids, what does that mean? Tell
hate
me what it means.
everyone else by comparison. The Lord should be the center of your life. It should be your truest love in your life.
Hate everyone. Your father, your mother, your wife, your children.
I don't hate my kids. I don't hate my family. I don't hate my mom.
Well, then you're not worthy of following Jesus.
Well, I don't love them as much as I love the Lord.
But Jesus says you got to hate them, or you can't be my follower.
In comparison to him is the word
Yeah,
comparison.
hate them, hate your kids in comparison
to him.
Yes, fine. By comparison to me, you must still hate your kids.
Perfect. The Lord is perfect, and
The Lord is perfect.
We're sinful people. We choose to make poor decisions at times.
The Lord is perfect.
Yeah, He is.
So every action the Lord does is perfect.
Yep.
So when He created the world was perfect.
He created a world full of people that were given free will.
So the world that we live in today, is it perfect?
No, it's a sinful world because we were given.
Wait,
free
but you
will.
said God is.
We ate the apple and then it ruined everything, and we continue to have free will. And
But you said your God was perfect and that everything He
but
does
God
is perfect.
also says that the ruler over the actual world is Satan and the enemy.
Did your God know that before He created everything that He was going to create this little like devil lizard man to torment His creation on the earth?
Satan was in heaven before he was banished to hell.
I didn't ask you where Satan was. I asked you, did your God know that before He created everything, He was going to use this little lizard devil man to torment His creation on the earth?
But he did, and he also knew.
So then your God's responsible for it all then?
No, He's responsible for giving.
Wait. Could your God have created a different universe other than the one we have now, where we're tormented by Satan?
Yeah, He could have, but then that.
But he didn't, right? So that means He's responsible. That means He's responsible.
You want me to? Okay, you're just going to speak over me then when you ask me a question. You just said so. He did this, and this. So
well, first of all, you don't have free will. The free will isn't even in the Bible. And if your God is all knowing, you don't have free will.
Yeah, it is. That's not true.
Okay, is God's knowledge?
I have a good example for you as to why free will is possible through God being sovereign.
Not if God's all knowing, no. And if His knowledge is perfect, no, you don't.
Yes, it is. He knows everything.
So is God's knowledge? We
don't know what's going to happen. That's why we have a purpose every day. We wake up to choose to be a good person or a shitty person, which means we have free will. He knows what choices we.
Is God's knowledge perfect?
His knowledge and what we choose in our life is perfect.
So God's knowledge can never be wrong, right?
No, but we are not predestined.
So that means that whatever
day. You're choosing to do this live today.
Caleb,
whatever didn't make you get on this live to do this today.
Caleb, I'm trying to run an argument here. Can you listen?
Okay, yeah, go.
Okay, God's knowledge is perfect and He can never be wrong. So that means whatever God knows is going to happen, it will happen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if God knows you're going to turn left, you will turn left. You can't freely choose to turn right, can you?
There's a difference between Him knowing I'm going to turn left and Him making me turn left.
Well, okay, explain to me how you can freely choose to turn right if God knows you're going to turn left.
Because I wake up every day and I make choices to do those things.
Hold on. God knows you're going to turn left.
Too much of an abstract thing for you to.
Caleb, you said that whatever God knows is going to happen, that it will happen.
You go to an NFL football game, and before you go to the game, you hit record on the game before you leave the house. And
I'm not an all-knowing. But I'm not an all-knowing being.
And something to you, and then
no, that's it. I already know because I know the football analogy, and it's not analogous because my knowledge isn't perfect.
Why is it not an analogy?
Because I didn't create the football game. My knowledge is not perfect, and I'm not an all-knowing being. So
God doesn't put His hand in the choices that you make.
So, explain to me how you can freely choose to turn right if God knows you're going to go left.
The same reason why I woke up today and I have faith in a God that I haven't seen and in a book that I have read, that
if God knew you weren't, if God knew
live today, He didn't tell me. God didn't whisper in my ear and tell me to hop on this live with you.
If God knew that you weren't going to get out of bed today, could you choose to get out of bed?
Dude, you're just like. I'm not even gonna. You know what? I'm not gonna have.
Because you know that defeats the free will argument. That defeats it.
No, it's.
Well, then answer it. Well, then answer it then.
God, and that's all that matters.
Okay, if God knows you're not going to get out of bed, if God knows that you're not going to get out of bed today, can you choose to get out of bed?
If God said what?
If God knows that you're not going to get out of bed today, can you choose to get out of bed?
You mean if I passed away in my sleep?
No, just get out of. If God knows that you're not going to get out of your bed today, can you choose to get out of your bed and make God wrong?
No, because it would have been my choice not to.
There you go. You don't have free will. God knows you're going to do something, so you will do it.
I decided. He knew that I was going to choose that.
Yeah, and can you choose the opposite of what God knows?
Dude, you're so dense. You don't even understand.
You can't. This defeats the free will argument. It's called the omniscience.
It's so abstract to for you to try to understand.
Caleb, you need to look this up. This is called the omniscience free will paradox. You need to look this up. You cannot have free will if your God is all knowing. You can't have free will if God is all knowing. Well then debunk it. If God knows, you already agreed.
You speak over me to try to stump me and go, see, that is not free will, and then you leave it at that.
Because you already agreed that whatever God knows is going to happen, that it will happen. So if God knows that you're not going to get out of bed in the morning, you will not get out of bed in the morning. You can't choose to get out of bed. You're going to stay your ass in bed because that's what God knows is going to happen.
God knows
because you don't have free will.
I'm going to make before I make my choices, but I still have to wake up and make those choices. I can choose to hop off of this live or stay on this live in the next 10 seconds.
Okay, so if God knows
what to choose to do, but I still in the present time here on earth with my free will have to make that choice.
If God knows that you're going to get off this live stream right now, can you stay on for another second?
He knows what's going to happen, but he's not putting
Caleb.
his hand in what's going to happen.
And in this scenario,
I understand about that.
God knows. God knows.
It's so hard for you to understand.
God knows what's going to happen. In this scenario, God knows that you're going to get off this live stream right now. Can you choose to stay on the live stream?
I don't understand what you're not understanding about this.
Just answer the question. God, in this scenario, God knows
what's going to happen.
Right. Can you choose the opposite?
Choosing my choice here in the present.
Can you choose the opposite of what God knows is going to happen?
All right, let me have a question. Dude, say that again so I can try to explain this to you.
Can you choose the opposite of what God knows is going to happen?
No, you can't choose the opposite.
Boom! You don't have free will. Whatever God knows is going to happen, it will happen.
God knows all the choices you're going to make, but he's not choosing them for you. So if he knows... Okay, I'm going to create a picture here. If I choose to wake up today, and I chose to go hold the door open for somebody, I woke up, I made breakfast, I did all these things, and then I held the door open for someone. God knew that was going to happen. But realistically, here in free will on earth, I didn't know what my whole day was going to turn into and what I was going to eat for breakfast.
That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
And then when I went there and I opened the door open,
it doesn't matter what you know.
It does though. God
Caleb, it doesn't matter.
Never in the Bible does God say that he makes the decisions for you.
And nowhere in the Bible does God say you have free will. Nowhere in the Bible. Where? What verse? What verse shows that God gives you
free will because you have a choice. He gives you the word choice. Choice is an example of free will.
But you can't choose the opposite of what God knows. So you will. So if God knows you're going to wake up and put a blue shirt on, you will put a blue shirt on. You must put on a blue shirt. You have to put on a blue shirt because that's what God knows is going to happen. And God can never be wrong about what he knows. So if God knows you're going to wake up and put a blue shirt on, guess what? You're putting a fucking blue shirt on. You cannot freely choose to put on a white shirt. If you were to freely choose and put on a white shirt, that would make God wrong about what he knows.
You heard the analogy that I was bringing up earlier to try to make it more understandable for you?
The football game is not analogous because I didn't create the football game. I'm not an all-knowing being. I'm not an all-knowing being, and my knowledge is not perfect.
God is in all things all at the same time, and so he sees the future and the present and the past all at once.
Right, and if God knows you're going to wake up tomorrow and put a blue shirt on, can you put on a white shirt?
No, because I would be choosing to put on
a blue shirt. Exactly. You can't choose the opposite of God's knowledge. You will fucking do whatever God knows you're going to do. That's why if God is all-knowing, you don't have free will. If God knows everything is going to happen, it will happen, then your entire life is predetermined. Hello, Tiffany? Don't forget to flush. Don't forget to flush. Hello, Shaq?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, man. Peace to you, peace to you. I see what you're doing, and I totally understand it. I respect it, but I feel like you should have more of like an understanding spirit, because I feel like when you read in the Bible, it's not from a spirit of
Preach
trying
mode.
to understand. I think you already have your mind made up.
Preach mode activated.
Okay, I'll start. Go ahead.
Preach mode.
Okay.
All right. God is great if you ignore all the bad. Do you disagree?
I disagree. Yes.
Okay, so like when God says you can have slaves, when God commands babies to be killed, when God says you can go out and capture women in battle and force them to be your wives, all of those things are good.
Well, let's start with the free will. The last thing you touched on, free will, right? So, one thing you have to understand about God. No, can I touch on it? I'm not. I'm trying to have a genuine conversation with you. That's all. Let's
Yeah,
touch
but
on the
it
free will.
sounds like you're about to. It sounds like you're about to preach again.
No. I'm not about to preach, but I just want you to see if you understand one thing. God doesn't operate in the same realm as we do. Time doesn't exist outside of this realm.
But you can't prove any of this, so I don't. It's a waste of our time to talk about it.
Okay, fair enough. I can prove it, but if you have time for me to look up the verses, I can prove it. And I should have came more prepared. But go ahead. What's your next claim about slaves?
Yeah. Does God support slavery?
Does he support? So, yes, he does, but with a caveat. He doesn't support the slavery that we're traditionally used to seeing in the movie Roots and people owning slaves and treating them bad. You're supposed to treat your slave well, and the scripture saying once your slave has served their time, you're supposed to give them their due right, and then they're free. There's several verses on slavery, so you have to read everything.
I'm talking about the slavery in the Bible where God says you can own non-Israelites as property for life, and you're allowed to beat them with a rod with no punishment.
Okay, and there's also verses saying you must not mistreat the slavery because there's punishments for that. You must not mistreat the slave because there's punishments.
You're allowed to beat your slave with a rod with no punishment as long as the slave doesn't die.
Let me pull up the verse now. Give me 1 second.
Wouldn't you consider that mistreating somebody if you beat them with a rod?
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up the verse right now because I prove all things through scripture. I'm not just gonna talk out of my ass here.
It's Exodus 21:20-21. Anyone who beats their male or female slave with a rod must be punished if the slave dies, but they are not to be punished if the slave recovers after a day or two, since the slave is their property. In Leviticus 25:44-46, God told the Israelites that they're allowed to own non-Israelites as slaves for life, even children. You can own them forever and pass them on to your children. That's exactly like the transatlantic slave, like the American South slaves. They were owned for life and they were beaten, and the biblical slaves were owned for life and they were beaten as well.
So now these are Exodus 21. Now these are the rules that you shall set before them. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th year he shall go out free for nothing. If he comes in single, he shall go out single. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gives him a wife and she bears him, okay.
Yes, there's a different set of laws for your Hebrew slaves as opposed to your non-Hebrew slaves. Your Hebrew slave
Right.
can sell your Hebrew slave can sell himself to you, but he must go free after 6 or 7 years unless you give him a wife and a children. Then the wife and the children will remain with you when he's time to go free. Right?
Right.
Okay, but I'm not talking about indentured servitude or debt servitude. I'm talking about chattel slavery. I'm talking about where God says you're allowed to own a foreigner as a slave for life, forever. They will not go free. And in Leviticus 25:44-46, God told the Israelites that they are allowed to own non-Israelites as slaves for life. Do you know why he said that? Because he supports slavery. There's an entire list of things that God said don't do, but he didn't put slavery on that list. He put it on the list of things that are morally permissible.
Right, because slavery isn't inherently evil. We have made it evil.
What?
It is not inherently evil. Having a slave is not inherently evil. If you treat your slave right, if you feed them. Okay.
Sir, in a sense, I agree with you that slavery is subjectively bad to me because I don't believe in objective moral truths. So I can't prove that slavery is objectively immoral. But for you to say that it's not inherently evil, like you think that there's nothing wrong with taking a child against their will and owning them as property for life.
I do, but again, you have to read everything in context. You can't nitpick the Bible. It's precept upon precept. You have to read for understanding. So let's go to the verse in question that you're talking about, right?
Sir, it's just a single paragraph. It's the only paragraph.
That's the thing. You can't read the Bible.
But let me speak. Let me speak.
Paragraph.
Let me speak.
That way.
Let me speak, Shaq.
Sure, go ahead.
It's a single paragraph. It is the only paragraph in the entire book that God says you're allowed to own slaves for life. The paragraph before it does not talk about owning foreign slaves for life. The paragraph after it does not talk about owning foreign slaves for life.
Okay.
All of the context that you need is in that single paragraph.
Okay, and what is that verse again?
Leviticus 25, 44 through 46.
Okay, give me 1 second.
And I just want to know if you think there's nothing wrong with taking a child against their will and owning them as property for life.
Okay, let me see.
Did you find it? Rebecca, thank you for the $5 on Cash App. Thank you, Rebecca. Love you so much. Appreciate you. While you're looking it up, I'm going to read it, okay?
Sure.
You may buy men and women slaves from the nations around you. Also, you may buy children as slaves. These children must come from the families of foreigners living in your land. These child slaves will belong to you. You may even pass these foreign slaves onto your children after you die. You can make them slaves forever, but you must not rule cruelly over your own brothers, the Israelites. So there's a distinction there made between your Israelite slaves and your foreign slaves. The foreign slaves, you're allowed to own them forever, even children.
Okay, and I'll admit, when I say there's certain things that I don't understand fully, I won't try to just pull something out of my ass. That I don't understand fully, but I can tell you again that God is inherently good, and
so then this is good. Then this is good. In your worldview, this is good.
I'm not gonna. It's not for me to just judge if it's good or bad. Honestly, it's not.
Wait. So you don't know if you disagree or if you agree with God here or not?
I can say that I necessarily don't, that's not a verse that I would cling on to, but it's in the Bible for a reason,
So do you agree with God or disagree with God when he says it's morally permissible to take children and own them as slaves forever?
Again, you have to read everything in the context.
That paragraph is the only context, is the only paragraph in the entire Bible that talks about owning these children as slaves for life, the foreign children. Go ahead and read the verses above it, the verses after it. It's completely different topics, different subjects.
Let me ask you one thing, right? And
hold on. I want to know if you agree or disagree with your God when he says that it's morally permissible to take children as slaves.
Can I say one thing? I know you like to harp on the Old Testament, but let's understand one thing, right? What's the greatest commandment? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and 2, love your brother like your neighbor.
Preach mode. Preach mode.
That's not
preach mode activated.
That's not preach mode activated.
Preach mode activated. You just completely
you
pivoted.
don't want to get the truth out.
You just completely pivoted away from what we're talking about and began preaching.
Because you're talking about mute points.
Preach mode activated. Big time.
The greatest commandment.
You pivoted so fast that you pivoted so fast you broke my ankles.
And if you read the Bible, you know this. The greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself. So why are we talking about just nitpicking stuff that just go against the word? Why are we doing that?
Sir, I'm not nitpicking. It's the only paragraph in the entire book that talks about owning children as slaves here. Okay? All the context you need is in this paragraph. You read it yourself. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, was this good or bad? Do you agree or do you disagree with God when he says that it's morally permissible to take children as slaves?
And you could also stone your wife if she was cheating on you back then.
Stop pivoting. I'm asking you about slaves. I'm asking you about the children slaves. Was it good or bad? Do you agree or do you disagree with your God when he says that he thinks it's morally permissible for you to take children and own them as slaves? This is a very easy question to answer.
I wasn't born in those times. I can't speak for that. Things were different back then.
Do you agree with your God or disagree with your God?
I'm not going to sit here and say I disagree with my God.
Okay. If you don't disagree with your God and your God is all good, then this is good to you. In your worldview, it's good to you when God says that you can go and take children as slaves and own them for life, foreign children.
Hold on. Somebody's asking what verse is that. So I want to give them the verse so their eyes can be open. Okay. I'll tell you the verse right now.
It's Leviticus 25, 44 through 46.
No, I'm talking about Matthew 22, 36 through 40. Love the Lord your God. Teacher, which is the greatest command in the law? Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart. And
preach mode activated. Preach mode activated. Loving your God. Love your God with all your heart. That has nothing to do with slavery. Completely off topic.
How's it going, brother?
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. I have a slightly different way of saying it so that maybe some people will get it that aren't getting it. There are only 2 reasons
Are you a Christian?
I am not.
Okay, I'm just looking to speak with Christians, Trevor.
Oh, can I just say this one point real quickly?
No, I got people waiting, man. I got 17 guest requests, so I'm just trying to get the guests moving in here. But I appreciate you watching, though. Thank you for watching. But I'm just trying to get the guests rolling through here. Hello, are you a Christian?
Hello?
Hello, are you a Christian?
Sure I am. I'm a Southern... Yes, sir. I'm a Southern Baptist.
He's a Southern Baptist. Everyone keep spamming those likes, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you follow me and subscribe to my YouTube. I'm almost at 600 subs on YouTube. The link's in my bio for my YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube if you want to watch the full live streams. Hello, Magic? Magic, the magic organ?
No way. That was interesting, that last conversation.
Are you a Christian, sir?
We would have to have a table of content. What is a Christian? So I can understand what you're saying. Because
Are you a follower of Christ? Do you worship the God of the Christian Bible?
No, I believe in, I don't worship Christ, of course. I believe in the Torah. That's why I'm here, Chris.
You got some noisy background there.
Yeah. Let me try to fix that. Let me fix that. I was doing something prior to. All right. You guys were talking about, is slavery good or bad, right? That's why I'm here.
Okay.
So you were saying, is there a problem? Is it bad? Or you were questioning the gentleman, is it bad? I'm going to say, no, it's not bad.
It's not bad to own children as slaves?
No, because
it's not.
Well, let me tell you why I think that you're saying that. Because of the example of slavery that you have in this modern day world. That's why you're feeling that way. But if
it says you can own them for life.
Okay, well, here it is. But what will that, you're going to call it a slave.
Well, yeah.
What would their life be? Well, here it is. What would their life be? It would be full of the Torah and God's laws. It would be full of the Torah and God's laws. Correct?
So it's justifiable. It's justified. Hold on. Let me respond.
Okay.
It's justified to take a child and own them as property forever because it brings them closer to God.
Oh, well, here it is. But you're leaving out a very important part. It says, and then when we go to Isaiah, we'll see that slave that you're talking about will have an inheritance just like the brothers, just like the children of Israel.
So is that a yes, that it's justified to take a child and own them as a slave because it brings the child closer to God?
I'm going to say absolutely. Yeah.
So this is why Christianity has been spread through brutal means, right, in the past, because you're literally enslaving children to turn them into Christians, to make them closer to God.
My goodness. You're not understanding, but see, notice how you're doing the word play or the word magic thing. You're talking about Hebrews, and then all of a sudden you switch it over to Christianity, and a lot of people, that's a little sorcery move that a lot of people don't detect. We were talking about Hebrews.
Well, I'm really looking to speak with people
over to Christianity, and it's just such a smooth transition. A lot of people don't catch you.
I'm just looking to speak with people who disagree with me.
Okay.
So if you agree that God supports slavery, then we have nothing to talk about here because we both agree.
I agree too.
Do you agree? Do you agree or that God supports murder?
Do we support murder? I'm just going to say yes.
Okay, well then, yeah, I agree with you. God does support murder. He commands the Amalekite babies to be killed in 1 Samuel 15:3.
That's right. But he told you not to kill. See, so there must be a difference between.
Hello, Moto.
I'm sorry, I can't stand that conversation anymore. It seems like we're going to agree. It seems like he agrees that his God is a piece of shit. Only send a guest request if you disagree, please.
This video is from...
Hello, Waylon?
Yeah.
Hey, are you a Christian, man?
Yep.
All right, the topic is God is great if you ignore all of the bad.
My son, Junior, once had his girl. God is great if you ignore all the bad?
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand what you're saying. There's good and bad. Depends on what viewpoint you're looking at.
Is your God all good?
Yes.
Yeah, God is all good. God is great if you ignore all of the bad.
He is the creator of the earth. He can do what he wants with his creation. Is that not true? If you own something, can you not do what you wish with your creation?
So by that logic, because you create a child, you can do whatever you want to your child?
After an assassin's bullet had grazed here and by a millimeter.
No, you still have to follow laws. But it's different.
But you just said, aren't you the creator? If you're a creator, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, but I don't create. When men and women have a baby, that's not me creating it. It's God creating it.
Okay. So God has every right to do whatever he wants to your child?
If you have sheep, are you not allowed to do what you want with your sheep? If you own them?
What? So if you own a sheep, you can do whatever you want to the sheep, no problem?
I mean, if you want to eat it, you can eat it. If you want to kill it, you can kill it, right?
Yeah, but I was thinking something a little bit more perverse. But if you own a sheep, you can just do whatever you want with it, even though you didn't create it.
Yeah, but you're trying to go from a perverse point of view. I'm not.
Because clearly, if you own a sheep, you can fucking eat it. If you own a sheep, if you would using it for food, right?
You can kill it. You can give it away. You can do what you want with it, right?
Can you command soldiers to take sheep and grape them?
Explain what you're trying to say.
Like in Deuteronomy 21, where God says you're allowed to capture women in war and force them into your house and grape them and make them your wife. Would you consider them sheep? Like metaphorically,
from a human perspective, no. But God,
wouldn't those people? Wouldn't those people be metaphorically sheep to God? And like according to you, you can do whatever you want to sheep because they're your sheep. So God can do like.
Like I said, God can do what he wants with what he creates.
This conversation got off to a really weird start. Let's just try to go back to like God being good if you ignore all the bad, okay? What I mean by if you ignore all the bad, I'm talking about God allowing slavery, God committing murder, like commanding babies to be killed, God committing the infanticide, genocide, drowning the earth, drowning all the women and pregnant women on the earth, saying that you're allowed to capture women in battle and force them to be your wives, all of that type of stuff. Do you agree that all those things are bad?
From whose point of view? Again, I ask.
I just asked
from God's point of view.
I just asked you.
If it's during a wartime, things happen that aren't good, and it depends on what point of view you're looking at it from. If you commit a crime, say the Palestinians, they went over and attacked Israel in a bad way. So Israel has a right to protect itself and going over bombing killing who they need to kill, right?
I don't want to discuss that conflict because
right. But it's the same point. The same point.
Thank you for the coral. Thank you so much. Appreciate the coral. I'm asking you. I asked you a question and you said, "Well, whose perspective?" I asked you. Do you think that all of those things are bad that I just talked about?
If it's for my will, yes, it would be bad. But if it's God Creator's will, if God told me to do something, I would not question what He asked me to do.
Oh God, here we go. See that when I hear Christians say that, it scares me because what you've just opened yourself up to is the possibility of God revealing Himself to you and commanding you to go kill babies, and you would do it.
It depends. Like I'm not crazy. God's not going to ask me to do that.
Well, you don't know that, for number one. And number two, God has clearly demonstrated that He is capable of making those commands. He already commanded that before in the Bible. He commanded that.
When God commanded them to do that, those people committed crimes against Israel.
Yeah, but what did the babies do?
They were a part of it. If you leave babies in a situation like that, they're going to be mad and they're going to hold resentment and they're going to come back and attack when they get older, right?
So then why didn't God just not create them in the first place?
War is a bad thing. War is awful.
If God knew that these babies were going to grow up to attack him, why didn't he just kill their parents before they even had the babies?
Because there was already babies born.
So then why doesn't God allow the babies to like have their free will and decide whether they're going to attack the Israelites or not? Does he not value their free will?
Okay, so let me
He's just going to snuff them. He's just going to snuff them out right there in the beginning.
So if let's say they killed their parents, they either got it. What are they going to do with the babies? They just going to lay there with no protection or nothing? If they take them as slaves, then they're being taken care of, right?
But God is all powerful, so he could have just teleported them immediately to heaven. He didn't have to command the soldiers to go and chop their heads off with swords.
But what else would they do with them?
God could have just snapped his fingers and the babies would have been teleported peacefully to heaven. But he commanded King Saul and his soldiers to go and chop their heads off with swords.
So you're just adding stuff that's crazy that's not in the Bible.
Well,
God
in First Samuel 15:3, God commanded his soldiers to go and kill the Amalekites and their babies and their pregnant women. And you're saying, well, what was he supposed to do with the babies? He could have just snapped his fingers and made the babies go straight to heaven without having to have their heads cut off.
Well, either way, they have their heads cut off or what? When their heads cut off, did they feel any pain? They went straight to heaven.
Yes, a baby feels pain. A baby feels pain when
straight to heaven.
But what I'm trying to point out here is he could have made the babies go straight to heaven without feeling any pain.
We don't know if they felt pain or not.
We know
how you put it. War is ugly. They committed crimes against Israel.
So if you chop a baby's head off, you telling me you don't know if that baby feels pain or not?
I don't know. It's ugly.
What?
It sucks.
So if you start to
take me up into saying something negative about God, and Jesus loves you, I love you. I'm just trying to help you.
Preach mode.
You call it what
preach
you
mode
want.
Activated.
When you're in
preach mode,
you feel like you're in the wrong, you do preach mode too, don't you?
Preach mode activated. Sir, if you start to saw a baby's head off, what is it going to do?
I don't know. Ask a different question. Why do you want to get the negative, ugly stuff super ugly? Ask a different question.
Because you just said that you don't know if a baby feels pain when you cut its head off.
Either way, it went to heaven, didn't it?
Yes, but God could have made baby.
Is it in paradise? It's in a better place than if it was just left, right?
I don't believe in God, so I can't answer that. But couldn't God have just made the baby go straight to heaven without having its head cut off and feeling no pain at all?
I don't know. I don't know God's will. I don't know what. I can't speak for God on that. So
you don't know if your God's all. You don't know if your God's all powerful.
He is all powerful.
Okay, so if God is all powerful, couldn't your all powerful God have snapped his fingers and made the babies go straight to heaven without having to cut their heads off?
I don't know.
So you don't know if God's all powerful?
See, you're just trying to trap me up, and I'm not answering stupid questions. Ask a real question.
So
do you agree that God, he can do anything, right? He could have, but there's a reason he didn't.
Okay,
he could have that reason.
Could have, right? Fine. Okay, fine. He could have. Okay, fine. He could have, but he didn't, and there's a reason, and you don't know the reason. Fine. That makes sense to me. You're acknowledging, yes, God could have just made the babies go straight to heaven without cutting their heads off, but he didn't do that, and he had a reason for that, but I don't know the reason. Fine. Sure, you don't know God's reasons. I can accept that as an answer.
So you can go further.
But would you go and kill a baby if God commanded you to?
I don't think God would ask me to do that.
But God could, though, right?
Look, I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus. So Jesus tells me to love my neighbor and love my God. So that's all he asked me to do.
Jesus says to hate your kids. Do you have kids?
Jesus did not say that. Okay. I know what you're trying to get at. What Jesus was referring to is his ministry is going to create divides in families. So if it comes down to you picking your child or picking him, you pick him. God comes first.
So
that's what he says. That's the context of what he's trying to say.
He says you must hate your kids, hate your family, hate your wife, hate your husband, hate your brothers, and yes,
if you look at the context, if it comes down to it, picking between your family and God, you pick God.
You're going to pick God over your child?
If it comes down to it, yes. But I don't think my child would ever put me in that position.
So if Jesus revealed himself to you and said, "Come with me, leave your baby behind, and follow me," you're going to leave your baby there and follow Jesus.
He wouldn't ask to leave a baby behind.
You just said he did. You just said he's telling you to follow him, pick him over your baby.
Not a baby, a child.
Well, what's the difference?
A baby can't talk. A baby can't walk.
So, but Jesus is saying you must pick him over your family, right?
If you must choose, if your family does not believe in God, and you do, and your family hates you for it, you must separate. And your family's not practicing what you preach about Jesus. You have to go with Jesus.
So if your family was atheists and didn't believe in God, you would leave them.
I wouldn't leave them if it didn't. It depends on how they acted towards me.
You just said that Jesus.
If they caused me to live a life that was against God, yes, I would leave.
Like what? Like what? Give an example of something that your family could do that would make you leave them.
Okay, so I'm an ex-addict. If my family caused me to use drugs and stay away from Jesus, I would have to separate myself.
How would your child cause you to start using drugs?
My child wouldn't. That's the thing, and especially you talking about a baby. A baby couldn't do that, so you take the baby with you.
So how is that following Jesus, though? Leaving your family because they're making you drugs? How does that following Jesus?
That's not. If my family caused me to do drugs and stay away from Jesus, me using drugs, that's me putting drugs first.
What if your family didn't want to go to church every Sunday with you? Would you leave them?
No.
No? Well, wouldn't that be them keeping you?
If your family is causing you to not love God the way you should, that's the only case that you should hate your family and leave them. Not hate them, but leave them.
Luke 14:26, Jesus says you must hate them.
Read the whole chapter.
A large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, "If you want to be my disciple, you must hate everyone else, your father, your mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even..."
What he is saying is, if it comes to that, you must hate your family and follow him. He's not saying do it. If you can bring your family to Jesus, you're supposed to do that.
It says if you want to follow him, you must hate them.
That's not what he means.
This is the cost.
That's not what he means. He speaks in parables.
Let me read it. This is the cost of being a disciple. It says, okay, it's literally titled "The Cost of Being a Disciple." A large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, "If you want to be my disciple, you must hate everyone: your father, mother, wife, and children, brothers and sisters. Yes, even hate your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple." So Jesus is saying, if you want to be my follower, if you want to be my disciple, you must hate your entire family.
No, that is okay. So if I'm going to follow Jesus and I love him, that's liable to cause me to hate my family, because if my family doesn't follow Jesus with me and they do stuff that's against Jesus, I have to hate them.
He's saying that you must hate them in order for you to even follow him in the beginning. You cannot come to him. You cannot follow him.
What he is meaning is you have to be ready for that. If that
No. He's saying you must do this. He's saying you must hate them if you want to follow me.
Okay.
He's not saying you must be ready to do it in the future. This is the cost of being a disciple. Anyone who comes to me and wants to be my follower, you must hate everyone: your father, your mother, wife, children, brothers and sisters. Yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. You must hate your family in order to be worthy of following him. So are you a follower of Christ?
Yes, I am a follower of Christ.
Do you hate your children and your family?
No, I don't.
Well, then you are not worthy of being a follower of Christ. Christ doesn't want you.
You're taking that the wrong way. That's not what it means.
Well, okay, so when Jesus says,
if you hate your family?
Well, yeah, Jesus is contradicting himself. He's saying, love your neighbor.
Contradicting himself.
Wait, hold on.
If you know the teachings, then you'll know what that means.
So when Jesus says to love your neighbor and then turns around and says to hate everyone, that's not a contradiction?
No, that's not what he was meaning. You can say it however you want to say it. If someone tells you to love your neighbor and then tells you something like that, it's kind of like a parable. You would know what he's meaning. He's saying
how convenient. When Jesus says to hate your kids, that's a metaphor. But when Jesus says to love one another, that's literal.
Jesus spoke in parables.
So when Jesus says to love one another, is that a parable or is that literal?
No, that's literal, I guess.
Oh, how convenient, right? When Jesus says to love one another, that's literal.
How can love your neighbor be a parable or a metaphor?
Well, how can Jesus says to hate your kids? How can that be a parable or metaphor?
I don't. See, you're trying to massage the words the way you want them.
This is what you just did. This is what you just did, Waylon. When Jesus says to love one another, that's literal. That's not a parable. It's not a metaphor. Let's read some more. Jesus says to hate your kids. Oh, metaphor, parable.
You're
literal.
just reading one line. You're not reading the whole thing.
What? Okay, so what verse is going to cancel out where Jesus says to hate your kids?
Read the whole chapter.
What verse? Are you telling me that there's a verse that cancels that out?
No, but the whole book
But
talks about him following it.
Is there a verse? Is there a verse that cancels out where Jesus says you must hate your kids?
I don't have a Bible in front of me, or I would show you. But you have to read the whole book.
Hold on.
Cherry pick. You have to read from Matthew to Revelations.
But wait,
to get what he's talking about.
If there was a verse,
cherry pick, you can make it look bad however you want it to look.
So Waylon, if there was a verse that canceled out what Jesus is saying here, wouldn't that be like a contradiction?
No, like I said, if you read from Matthew to Revelations, you will understand you would understand how he talks and what he's talking about when he says.
So let me just get this straight. There's a verse that says something, and if I find a verse that cancels that verse out, that's not a contradiction.
No, because if you know how he's talking, when he's talking, who his audience is, you would understand.
So words just don't have meaning, is what you're saying. Words don't mean what they actually say. They mean what you want them to say.
Isn't there words in the English language that can mean three different things, the same word?
Yeah, but not the word hate.
Is that contradicting them?
Not the word hate,
no,
sir.
It's not.
Love means to love, and hate means to hate. So when Jesus says love one another, that's literal. How convenient. But when it gets to the uncomfy stuff that makes you feel uncomfy in your tummy, like Jesus saying to hate your kids, oh, that's not what he means. That's a parable. That's a metaphor. It's not literal. How convenient.
But like I just told you what he meant by when he said hate your family. If your family is causing you to stay away from Jesus, then you don't.
That's not what it says.
When he says hate them, he don't mean hate them. You just can't be around them. Or
it doesn't say.
Like
it doesn't say. You've added so many words to that verse. It does not say anything about your family causing you to stray away from Jesus. It says if you want to.
Like I said, I tried to give you context of what he's trying to say.
You're adding all kinds of words. I'm literally reading what it says word for word, and you're adding to it. You're adding that it means to, like, if your family causes you to stray away from God. It doesn't say that at all. It says Jesus is saying if you want to follow him, you must hate your family.
So when Jesus says love your neighbor, what is that supposed to mean?
To love
everyone, right?
Love your neighbor, yep.
Yes, love everyone.
Yeah, so when Jesus says to hate your kids, what does that mean?
He doesn't tell you to hate your kids just to be.
Let's read it. If you want to be my disciple, you must hate everyone: your father, mother, wife, children, brothers and sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple.
You're trying to get me caught up in words so your listeners follow you.
No, you're trapped. You've trapped yourself here, sir.
I'm not trapped myself. I love Jesus. Jesus loves everyone. Jesus tries to save everyone. That can
preach mode activated.
God loves you.
Preach mode activated. Waylon, the very second that you said Jesus says to love everyone, that means to love everyone, right?
Yes, love everyone.
Okay, when Jesus says to hate your family, hate your kids, then that means what?
I just told you what he meant.
What? So you're adding that. It doesn't say anything about if
read the whole chapter. If you want to cherry pick, read the whole chapter.
Wait. So if I read the whole
context of what he's talking about.
Okay, so if I read the whole chapter, you're telling me I'm going to find a verse that cancels this out?
Well, you'll see the context of what he's talking about.
The context is
don't just mean if you follow me, you have to hate your people. No,
that's literally what he says. This is the cost of being a disciple. A large crowd was following Jesus. He turned and said to them, "If you want to be my disciple, you must. If you want to be my disciple, you must hate everyone: your father, mother, wife, and children, brothers and sisters. Yes, even hate your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple."
Okay, so let's talk about what it takes to be a follower of Jesus. What do you got to do?
You got to hate your kids and hate your family.
No. What else does it entail besides that part?
It just says you must be willing to. You must hate everyone.
To go and preach to everyone. What does that mean? It means you're leaving your family behind, right?
That's
means you're
not
going
mentioned.
away to help other people get to Jesus.
But that's not mentioned in this paragraph.
No, but this is what he's trying. I think this is me thinking what he's trying to say.
But it says to hate them.
You got to leave your family to go preach. Your family's left behind. You don't want to leave your family, but you love Jesus more to go get other people to bring to Jesus, right?
But Jesus says you have to hate them, or you can't follow him.
Like I said, you're taking that out of context.
No, I'm not. Like, the context is, this is the cost of being a disciple. It's literally titled above verse 25 in bold letters. This is the cost of being a disciple. 25, a large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said to them, verse 26, if you want to be my disciple, you must
read the very next verse. What does the very next verse say?
27, and if you do not carry your own cross and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. 28, but don't begin until you count the cost, for who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there is enough money to finish it? Otherwise, you might complete only the foundation before running out of money, and then everyone would laugh at you. They would say, there is the person who started building a building, and it's talking about building a building.
Okay, but you're not getting... Okay, so what does it cost to follow Jesus is what I'm trying to say. If you start a building and you can't finish it...
According to Jesus, the cost of being a disciple is you must hate your family.
Because look what it entails. You got to go follow Jesus. You got to be away from your family.
No, you must hate them before you even follow Jesus. It says if you want to follow me, if you want to come to me and be my disciple, you must hate everyone, your father, mother, wife, and children. This is Jesus's words. This is Jesus saying this shit. And you're trying to add to Jesus's words. You're trying to add, well, it means this, it means that. But when Jesus says love one another, you're not making excuses over that. When Jesus says to love one another, well, that's literal. He literally means that. But when Jesus says you must hate your kids, that is but parables and analogies and metaphors. And
I'm sorry that you don't understand that. I'm very sorry that you don't understand.
I'm sorry that you don't understand what words mean.
Yeah, I do. And I know what
okay, you understand. Okay,
if you read the whole Bible, you'll know what he's talking about.
All right, you understand what words mean, right? So when Jesus says you must hate everyone, what does that mean?
He doesn't say you must hate everyone.
Let's read it. Let's read it. Let's read it. Let's read it.
If you want to follow Jesus, it's going to cost you stuff.
Let's read it.
It's going to cost you some things.
Let's read it. If you want to be my disciple, you must hate everyone, your father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters. What does that mean? Since you know what words mean, what does that mean when Jesus says you must hate everyone, your father, your mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even your own life? What does that mean?
What I think it means is that you're going to be in positions when you follow Jesus.
No, you said you know what words mean.
Separated from your family, and if your family doesn't follow Jesus, you may have to get away from them.
Waylon, you said you know what words mean, so don't tell me what you think it means. Tell me what you know it means, because you said you know what words mean. So if you know what words mean...
So if you have a sentence, and you take one word out of that sentence, you can define it, but you don't know what's implied in the sentence, do you?
I'm not taking a single word out. I'm reading it word for word.
No. What I'm saying is, if you have a sentence or a paragraph, you cannot take one single word out of that paragraph and know what it's
I didn't do that
in that paragraph.
I didn't take any words out. I didn't take any words out.
No. I'm saying, do you know what? Like, if you have a paragraph, you look at one word. Do you know what that word means in that whole context? You can't. You got to have to read the whole thing.
So what is the word?
What are you talking about?
So what is the word when it says hate? What does that mean?
Like I said, you're asking questions that are.
What does it mean? What does hate mean? Waylon, you said you know what words mean. So what does hate mean?
I know what hate means.
What does it mean?
Hate means you don't like someone, you despise them, but can it also mean other things?
Could it mean something positive?
No, I'm talking about, can it mean something else?
Can hate ever mean something positive?
Yeah.
How can you positively? No,
I didn't say that.
Hate is always like a negative term, right?
Right, but does English?
Okay, so Jesus says
different things.
What?
Do you agree that English words can mean different things?
Yeah, but not the word hate, not the word love.
It depends on how it's written and what it's used as. Right?
Words. There are words that like the word break, for instance. Break could mean like you broke something or you're taking a break, relaxing. Right? There are words that have different meanings, but not the word love, not the word hate. Those have one meaning. Love means love means love. Hate means hate. There is no other way of like saying that could mean some other type of definition.
So when Jesus says to love someone, love your neighbor, love your people, and then he says to hate something else, you can't in your small mind think that he means something else when he says hate like that.
What other thing could it be? What other word does hate mean? Like, what other meaning does hate have?
No, just like I tried to explain it to you. When he says to be of my follower, there is going to be stuff that you have to do, be willing to do to follow me.
Jesus says
circumstances that comes up.
Jesus says
you're gonna hate.
Jesus says that you must hate your family before you even come to him to want to be his follower.
It's because you have to love him first.
It doesn't say that.
If that means hating your family, that's what he's meaning. If that means hating your family because they don't want to follow him or they cause you to do bad things,
it's not what it says.
That's what he's saying.
Jesus says that if you come to me and want to be my disciple, you must hate your entire family. That is the cost of being my disciple. You must hate them before you even come to him.
Be ready, because if
it says you must. It doesn't say be ready. It says you must.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You must hate them because when you come to me,
okay, you agree.
You're liable to hate them.
You agree finally. You finally agreed. You finally agreed. You must hate your children in order to follow Jesus.
I've said that, but in a different context. What you're trying to say is
so then you're not a follower of Christ because you said you don't hate your kids.
Because my kids they love Jesus. I don't have to hate my family to follow Jesus because they love Jesus. They follow him.
But your kids, do your kids hate you? Do your kids hate you?
No.
Well, then they're not worthy of following Jesus either.
See, you're not understanding what
Jesus says. Jesus says you must hate your parents. You must hate your entire family. So if your kids
comes to that,
no, it doesn't say that. It says you must before you even begin following him. It says you must do this before you even begin following him. Read it. A large crowd was following Jesus. He turned around and said, if you want to be my disciple.
I told you, look, I've told you how I feel about this.
Words just don't have words. I mean, words just don't have meanings to you. Like Jesus says, love one another. That means to love one another. Right?
You're just not understanding what I'm saying.
Jesus says to love one another. That means to love one another. Jesus says to hate your family. No, parable, analogy, metaphor, preach mode. Well, hold on. Jesus says love one another. Yep. Amen. Love one another. That's literal. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, and also Jesus says you must hate your kids. No, parable, metaphor, analogy, preach mode activated. The bending over backwards and twisting yourself into a pretzel to make something mean what you think it means. Hello, Darth Vader? Luke. Hello?
What's up, man?
How old are you?
26.
Okay. Are you a Christian?
Yeah, I am.
All right. What do you got for us?
We'll stay on the topic of hate, and we can move forward with the topic you were saying like earlier about dealing with the kids and the children and all that, like the women and all that. We'll stay on topic. So reading the Bible, you're bringing up a lot of the Old Testament. So we'll get to that. But
do you know why?
Why is that?
Because this is what Jesus says about the Old Testament writings, okay? In Matthew 5, Jesus says, "Don't think that I have come to destroy the law of Moses or the teaching of the prophets. I have not come to destroy their teachings, but to give full meaning to them. I assure you that nothing will disappear from the law until heaven and earth are gone. The law will not lose even the smallest letter or the smallest part of the letter until it has all been done. A person should obey every command in the law, even one that does not seem important. Whoever refuses to obey any command from the old law and does not obey it will be the least important person in God's kingdom." That's why I'm talking about the Old Testament. Because Jesus says that not one bit of the Old Testament law will go away until the heavens and the earth pass away.
That's fine. Let's talk about it. So that's why I mentioned it. So that's cool. We're on the same page. We both want to talk about it. Let's go. So you mentioned the hate thing. You got to realize back in the day, their words like meant different things. Hate didn't mean literal hate. It just meant prioritizing the relationship with Jesus over all other relationships.
When Jesus said to love one another, did he literally mean love?
I see what you're trying to do here. You're trying to stumble me over words.
Did he? When Jesus said to love one another, did he literally mean to love?
Love can mean a lot of things.
Yes, did he mean to love them?
How so? With words or actions?
However you define love, however you define it.
He meant to show love.
Fine. Jesus says when Jesus says to love one another, he means to show them love and love them, right?
And love has different meanings, right?
When Jesus says to hate your kids and hate your family, what does that mean?
Wait a minute. Let's stay on the love topic real quick. Love has different meanings, right? Can you agree with that?
Yeah, but nothing negative though, only positive. Right?
Okay.
Like you're doing what the last guy did. Well,
are you sure it can't mean anything negative? So you haven't did anything bad to you don't think that
what you're trying to do what you're trying to do what the last guy did. There are words that have the same, like it's the same pronunciation but different meanings. Like the word lie, it could mean to be untruthful, or lie could be that you're lying, like you're lying. He lied down. He went to go lay down, right?
Okay,
but love and hate, there's a word for those type of words that had different meanings. I can't remember the name of the word.
You're saying love can't be bad, right?
Well, when you say you love someone, how could you ever say that in a negative way?
You've never gone through hell for somebody to prove that you love them?
No, but it's like not bad. Saying love, how can that possibly be attributed to anything bad or negative?
Because you can go through bad things to prove that you love somebody.
But that's just what you went through. That has nothing to do with your feelings towards somebody. Your feeling of love towards somebody, how could they interpret that as being a negative or bad thing?
I'm saying I'm proving to you that it has negative effects sometimes. Love, I'm proving to you love has more than one meaning is basically what I'm proving.
Yeah, but they're all good. Love is always good. Like that's why it's love. It's welcoming. It's warming. It's love. Hate is just despise. I don't like it. I don't want nothing to do with it. Hate is hateful. Those are two different things. So when it says hate, there's no way to interpret that as being positive or saying that to love. It's love and hate are complete opposites. And when Jesus says to love one another, he literally means to love one another. But when Jesus says to hate your family and hate your kids, oh, hold on. That's not literal. That's a metaphor. That's a parable. That's an analogy, right? It's conveniently enough for you guys. When Jesus says something that makes you feel comfy in your tummy, you take it literally. But when Jesus says something that makes you feel bad in your tummy, you don't like it, and you try to make up excuses for it and try to say, well, words don't actually mean what they say they mean.
No, my friend, are taking it out of context. That's exactly what's trying to happen.
So when Jesus says to hate your family and hate your kids, what does that mean?
In your eyes, I see what you're saying. You're saying it means hate by the definition of what we all are told. But what I'm telling you right now is that's not what it means. It means to prioritize Jesus over all other relationships. And if you prioritize him to the top, then it's going to feel like hatred. It's going to,
but it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that.
Literal when it's talking about it.
That's not what he says. He says, if you want to be my follower, you must hate everyone in your family. You're not worthy of being my disciple unless you hate your family. This is the cost of being a disciple.
But you're using it to your own terms and I'm just
reading what it says. That's all I'm doing.
But you have to look at the bigger picture.
Well, then you have to do that when Jesus says love one another. Then you have to do the same fucking thing. You can't just take that literally. You have to bend over backwards and make excuses.
I'm glad you said that. Jesus does.
Go ahead and twist your. I want to see you twist yourself into as much of a pretzel that you're doing right now.
You're about to get cooked, buddy.
Okay. When Jesus says love one another, that's not what that actually means.
Okay, well, doesn't Jesus do tough things to show he loves other people, just like you said
like
with
what? Like tell people to come drink his blood?
sending to kill the other nations and everything. That's tough love. Just like your father.
Tough love? Commanding babies to be killed is tough love?
Has your parents in your life? I'm not sure. I'm not trying to be offensive. But if you do have parents, do they show you tough love?
Yeah.
Okay,
they would, they would never, but they would never kill. They would never kill me or command babies to be killed.
Okay, you got to realize that is the Old Testament. He punished.
Well, you brought it up. You brought it up.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So, if Jesus is God, then Jesus is the God of the entire Bible. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So, in 1 Samuel 15:3, Jesus commanded the Amalekite babies to be killed and pregnant women.
Okay, that was the hostility and conflict between the two groups.
What did the babies do?
That was punishment for they provoked the other group. And that's what happened in war.
So your all-loving God punishes innocent babies for the crimes of their parents? That's such a loving God.
He wipes out all the wicked. And
whoa, the babies were wicked?
God knows the future. He knows what's going to happen. And
so we're just rambling about nonsense now?
No, those babies probably would have grew up and had hatred in their heart, and it would have been.
So God doesn't value free will? God didn't value the free will of the babies to grow up and make choices on their own?
I'm not saying babies are wicked, and you're trying to twist my words. I see what you're doing.
I asked you if babies were wicked, and you said, God knows the future, and started talking about, I don't know what you're talking about.
I see what you're trying to do here. I didn't say...
I simply asked you if babies were wicked, and you didn't answer it. You said, God knows the future.
I said that group of people were wicked. Yeah.
And I asked you, the babies were wicked, and you started talking about God's knowledge.
Yes, he knows the future, and he had a plan for that. And
so were the babies wicked?
Babies are innocent.
Okay, so you agree that your all-loving God killed innocent babies?
I see exactly what you're trying to do here.
Stop telling me that you see what I'm doing and respond to what I'm saying.
That was the adults. They got consequences, and unfortunately,
we're not talking about the adults. We're talking about the innocent babies.
Okay.
We both established now that the babies were innocent. So your all-loving, all-good God killed innocent babies. You see what I'm doing?
I see what you're trying to say, and it would be nice if you let somebody finish the sentence so you can get cooked like a marshmallow here.
I'm waiting for the cook, bro. I'm waiting for you to at least turn the grill on. You haven't even poured the charcoal out yet.
All right, man. Got you. Nah, but I see what you're trying to say. In my eyes, in your eyes, yeah, that's not right. But it doesn't matter what's in our eyes. In the Bible, it says God is He's a very loving God, but He's gonna punish when wickedness and sin enters and you go against His word. And unfortunately, that group went against their word. And yeah, unfortunately, yeah, children did die.
Is your God a just God?
Yes.
Okay. Is innocent babies being killed justice?
I like how you trying to use these arguments when I just answered.
Well, I want to know if God is a just God, and if He is a just God, then why did He do something unjust, like kill an innocent baby?
Because I can't answer that. I'm not God, for one. I'm not even going to try to answer that. I told you that these groups were going at it, and that was the punishment for it.
Is killing babies murder?
Yeah.
All right, well, God supports murder because God commanded King Saul to go and kill babies, so God supports murder. We agree.
God killed the thing you're not understanding, just like when He wiped the world, right? You mentioned that earlier. The world was wicked, and He wipes the wicked. Yeah, that's punishment.
Babies?
The thing about it is, in mine and your eyes, yeah, babies, yeah, that's the terrible thing. I agree.
Right.
But
well, since you cooked me on God's supporting murder, would you like to move on to like where God supports slavery or grape?
Well, the slavery thing, you do realize a 9-to-5 regular job is slavery too, right?
No, I can quit my job at any time, and my boss cannot beat me with a rod, and my boss does not own my children after I die.
Then how are you going to afford to live?
I have a job consensually. I consensually, willfully am employed, not owned as property. I can leave my job at any time. And you trying to compare you having a 9-to-5 job to a slave being owned for life is pretty sick. You trying to say that that's comparable?
Somebody mentioned earlier, slavery in these times.
It's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, that sounds bad, but slavery back then.
They were owned for life and they were beaten with a rod. That's the exact same thing as the American South slaves.
They were beaten with a rod.
Yes, in Exodus 20-21 says you're allowed to beat your slave with a rod with no punishment if the slave does not die. In Leviticus 25:44-46, God says that the Israelites are allowed to own non-Israelites as slaves for life, even children. And you can pass them on to your children when you die, and you can make slaves of them. Come on, man, I thought you was going to cook me, dude. I'm waiting for the cooking. I'm waiting for the barbecue. Fire up the grill.
I like how it's funny how all these TikTokers use these same arguments, but they take everything out of context.
And it's funny how you Christians can never defeat them. You Christians can never rebuttal them or defeat them or refute them.
Well, when we try to prove you a point, you're not even open-minded enough. Like just the hate.
You're not even trying to prove a point. You're just crying at this. You're just literally crying right now.
Well, when we mention hate, and it's like you don't even understand or even try to.
Well, because I just read it as Jesus says to hate your kids, and we can agree and disagree.
I told you that, like.
Well, we already moved past that. We moved past that.
I use the Bible, and I'm using AI right now, the smartest thing in the world. Like, and it's telling you, I'm literally letting it tell you, and you're arguing with the smartest fucking thing in the world. That's the thing.
I'm arguing with you, not AI.
Well, I'm telling you that all this is coming from the Bible and AI to fact.
You haven't given me anything.
Well,
the only thing you've done here today is say that when Jesus says to hate your family, that's not actually what it means. That's the only thing you've done. And then you said that you agreed that your all good, all loving God kills innocent babies. And now it sounds like you're agreeing with me that God does in fact support slavery.
No, I proved you wrong on the hate thing, and then you switched the topic.
How did you prove me wrong?
To fit your narrative.
What argument proved me wrong?
This guy watched the other TikToker, and all of them are watching each other, and they're just trying to prove.
Swizz, what argument?
Is your goal with this? I want to know.
Swizz, can you stop complaining and stop crying and give me the argument that beat me? Go ahead and give me the argument that you proved me wrong with.
Okay, what on what?
You just said that you proved me wrong, so give me the argument that proved me wrong.
On the hate. I mentioned that hate didn't literally mean hate.
That's not an argument. That's just you saying something. That's just you claiming that hate doesn't actually mean hate. That's not an argument.
It means to prioritize his
you coming on here, you coming up here and saying,
this is what they do. They ask you a question, then they interrupt you while you're speaking, and then they twist your words to fit their narrative, and it's just crazy to me.
tiny violin for Swizz here. You coming up here and saying hate does not actually mean hate is not a winning argument. It's not a defeater. It's not a proving anything. You can just come up here and say that words don't actually mean what they say all you want to. It doesn't make
saying
right.
And I proved you like that love you brought up love.
What did you prove?
You brought up love and you said it has one meaning. It was literal.
I didn't say that.
I told you it has different meanings, and I even showed examples.
You didn't prove anything about Jesus saying to not hate your family. If you read the Bible, Jesus says you must hate your family. And then you can come up here and say all you want that hate doesn't mean hate and words don't actually mean what they mean. You can say all that all you want to, but it's not really proving anything. Now, would you like to move on past the murdering and past the slavery and go on to where God supports grape?
Okay, where did he support grape?
All right. Well, let me just give you an example before I even show you in the Bible. I want to know if you think this is grape. Okay, if somebody saw your mother in battle and saw her in battle and thought she was beautiful and desired to take your mother as a wife, so he captures her and kills her family and takes her to his home and lets her cry over her dead parents for 1 month, and then after the 1 month he goes into her and makes her his wife. Has your mother been captured and graped at that point?
No, my mother has not been captured and raped.
What? I don't know if you're paying attention. Let's say that there's a battle going on.
Hold on,
Swizz, hold on. Let's say that there's a battle going on and a soldier sees your mother and desires her for a wife and kills her parents and captures her and takes her to his house and lets her mourn for her dead parents for 30 days. And after the 30 days, he goes into her and makes her his wife. Has your mother been captured and raped?
What verse is that?
I just want to, we're not talking about the Bible or God right now. I just want to know if you think that's rape.
What verse is it? To make a debate or something, you have to give the verse. If you're trying to...
Swizz, if somebody sees your mother and thinks she's beautiful and captures her and takes her to his house and lets her mourn for her dead parents for 30 days and then goes into her and makes her his wife, has your mother been captured and raped?
This is what they do, guys, right here.
The fact that you cannot, we're not even talking, I'm going to give you the verse.
You don't even give the context or the verse.
Swizz, I'm going to give you the verse, but I first want to know if you think that is, if your mother has been captured and raped in that situation.
Well, give me the context so I can tell
the context is that there's a battle going on. And one of the soldiers sees your mother.
A verse from the Bible that says this. I don't need.
Hold on, I'm going to give it, Swizz. I'm going to give it to you. I promise you. I'm going to give it to you. I promise. All I want to know is that in this situation your mother is in right now, that there's a battle, and a soldier sees your mother and desires her for a wife because he thinks she's beautiful. He can kill her family and take her to his house, and where she will mourn for 30 days. And after she's done crying over her dead parents that you just killed for 30 days, the man goes into your mother and forces her to be her wife. Has your mother in that scenario been captured and raped?
Again, this is you're trying to prove a point without giving the verse, dude. Just give the verse and get to the point.
Look, Swizz. We're not even talking about. Let's just take God and the Bible off the table right now. We're not even talking about.
You're giving a hypothetical question without the verse and the proof in the Bible.
Well, I'm not even talking about.
You're trying to prove, right? You're trying to prove the Bible wrong. So let's
take God and the Bible off the table right now. If your mother has been captured,
you're throwing out a hypothetical. You're trying to prove the Bible wrong and trying to
it's a hypothetical
over their words.
Here's a hypothetical, and I want to know if you think that this is rape. If your mother is taken in battle and captured and taken to a man's house because he desires her for a wife and lets her mourn for 30 days, and then after the 30 days goes into her and makes her his wife. In that hypothetical situation, has your mother been captured and raped?
Did she consent?
No, she's been captured.
That's a tough one.
What? Oh my God! How is this tough, Swizz? How is this tough, dude? You said you were going to come on here and cook me, and you can't even answer on this situation whether your mother has been raped. She's been captured and taken to a soldier's house. And then after she's allowed to mourn for 1 month.
These TikTokers are good at stumbling your words. They're good at doing
just
these
answer the Swizz. Just answer it. Has your mother been raped in that situation, in that hypothetical scenario where she's captured in war and taken to a man's house?
They love this hypothetical stuff and to stumble you and all this.
Has your mother
the Bible? But they try to prove the Bible wrong without going to the verses.
Has your mother been raped in that situation, sir? The reason you won't answer it is because you know, yes, in fact, your mother has been raped in that scenario, but you don't want to say yes because you know that I'm immediately going to read a scripture in the Bible that details that exact scenario. And then I'm going to ask you if that's rape, and you're going to stumble and you're going to completely break down and sweat and have probably a panic attack because you do know, in fact, that this is where this is going. The hypothetical scenario.
Yes, it's rape, but that's free will. That's free will for somebody to choose to do that.
Right, but God supports this. This is what God told This is what God told His soldiers that they're allowed to do. Okay, Deuteronomy 21:10-14 talks about marrying a woman taken in battle. This is what God says it's morally permissible to do. You're allowed to do this. When you go out to battle against those who hate you, and the Lord your God gives them to you, and you see a beautiful woman and have desire for her as a wife, you can bring her to your house. There she will cut off her hair and cut off her nails, and she will change the clothes that she wore when you took her away, and she will stay in your house. She will have sorrow for her father and mother for 1 month, and after that you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife.
Because that's what humans chose to do. That's their free will.
This is what God says you're allowed to do. God supports His soldiers going and capturing women and raping them. God could have easily said
that verse again.
God could have easily said, listen, when you go out to battle, don't capture women and don't force them to be your wife. He could have easily said that. Because God could have commanded, when you go out to battle, Don't capture women and force them to be your wives. In fact, the opposite. He gave very specific rules and instructions on how to practice this. It's Deuteronomy 21, 10 through 14. When you go out to battle against those who hate you, and the Lord your God gives them to you, and you see a beautiful woman and have desire for her as a wife, bring her home to your house. There she will cut off her hair and cut off her nails, and she will change the clothes she wore when you took her away, and stay in your house. She will have sorrow for her father and mother for 1 month. After that, you may go into her and be her husband, and she will be your wife. But when I use your mother in this scenario, you refuse to say that your mother has been raped in that scenario, because you knew that as soon as you agree that it was rape, and when I tell you that this is what the Bible says that you're allowed to do, you're going to go into panic mode and make excuses for, that's not rape.
I think it's all about interpretations, honestly. I'm reading up on it now. And
how are you interpreting what's happening there?
Times were different back then, and we don't understand that in these days.
What's happening to this? What's happening to this woman here in this scenario? What's happening to her?
I mean, the guy's not just going in and like
he's capturing her because he thinks she's
what
beautiful.
I'm saying, there's a lot of things that we don't understand from that.
Has she been captured? Yes or no?
Let's see, Israelite. Yes.
Yep. You can capture her and you can take her to your house, right? Take her to your house.
I'm reading up on it. I see it.
Yep. And after she cries for her dead family that you've just slaughtered for 30 days, you can go into her and make her your husband, make her your wife. Has she been captured, and is she forced to be married to the person who killed her parents and captured her? This is rape. This is not consensual. She has not consented to any of this. Just admit it, dude. Just admit that, yes, this woman is being captured and raped here, and that this is what your God supports. This is what your all-loving, all-good God supports. If your God didn't want his soldiers to be capturing women and forcing them to be brides, he would have said, when you go out to battle and you slaughter the people, do not capture women and force them to be your brides. Let them go or kill them or whatever. In fact, he says you're allowed to capture them if you think she's beautiful, take her to your house, and force her to be your bride.
The thing is, man, times are different back then. Me and you don't understand that. I ain't going to say that's right. I ain't going to say that's right in my eyes, but that was...
Oh, so you disagree with God?
I don't disagree with his plan.
All right, if you don't disagree with God, and God is all good and all great, then this is actually a good thing in your worldview. To you, this is good, because God says you're allowed to do this.
God does a lot of things that we might not look at as good. Yes.
So do you disagree, or do you agree with your God's morality?
I believe the Bible, and I believe it to be true. And I believe God to be a very forgiving God and a good God.
I didn't ask you any of those questions. I asked you if you agree or if you disagree with your God's morality.
Yes, I agree with it.
Okay, so then this is good to you. This is morally permissible in your worldview. In 2024, you think that it's morally permissible to capture a woman?
2024? No, that was the Old Testament.
Well, no. Well, hold on.
Jesus died on the cross.
Well, hold on. We already talked about this. Jesus says not one bit of the old law will go away until the heavens and the earth pass on. And also, your God never changes.
The law changed after the Old Testament. And the New, yes, it did.
Nope. Jesus. Let's read it. Let's read where Jesus says that it doesn't. This is Jesus talking about the Old Testament writings. Don't think that I have come to destroy the old law of Moses or the teachings of the prophets. I have not come to destroy their teachings, but to give full meaning to them. I assure you that nothing will disappear from the law until heaven and the earth are gone. The law will not lose even the smallest letter or the smallest part of a letter until it has all been done. A person should obey every command in the law, even the one that does not seem important. Whoever refuses to obey any command and teaches others not to obey the law, they will be the least important in God's kingdom.
It also mentions across the Bible that we're not perfect and we always have to ask for forgiveness and all that.
What? I don't even know what. I don't even know what. I don't know what you're talking about now. Jesus says not one bit. Hold on. Jesus says not one bit of the old law will fall away. Number one, and number two, your God's morality never changes. Your God is the same today, tomorrow, and forever. Okay. So if your God thinks that this is morally permissible to capture a woman and grape her, then he still thinks it's morally permissible to capture a woman and grape her.
Any of that, the arguments that you've made, all of them. Show me all of those in the New Testament please.
Well, sir, first of all, I've already showed you that Jesus says not one bit of the old law will fall away. And you already agree that
show me the Bible that you're trying to disprove.
Swizz, and you already agree,
change, right?
Swizz,
he doesn't like to get proved wrong. I'm about to cook him here.
You already agree that Jesus is God. You already agree that Jesus is God, which means he's the God of the entire Bible, correct? Right?
Yeah, he's the God. Yeah.
So Jesus is God, and he's the God of the entire Bible. That means that in Deuteronomy 21:10-14, Jesus says that you're allowed to take a woman in battle and capture her and grape her. Jesus is doing this. Jesus allows this because Jesus is God, the God of the entire Bible. Right? And Jesus in the New Testament says that not one bit of the old law will be done until the heavens and the earth pass away, and everyone should still obey the commands in the old law. And if you don't, you're going to be the least important person in the kingdom of God.
Okay, give me an example of where he did any of those arguments again in the New Testament. You said the laws don't change.
What you're asking for is...
Wait, you're saying the laws change by him? He's saying just to obey him.
No, the laws do not change. The laws do not change. Jesus says the law will not change until the heaven and the earth are gone, and that you should still obey every command of the old law. Anyone who does not obey every command from the old law will be the least important person in the kingdom of God. That's what it says.
He's saying to just obey him. That's where you're misunderstanding.
Yes, obey the law, the old
laws of the 10 Commandments and everything. He knows that we're not perfect.
It doesn't specify to just follow the 10 Commandments. It says all of Moses' law that God gave him.
And he knows we're not perfect, so we're not gonna be able to obey them at all times.
We kind of got off track here because I wanted to ask you: do you agree that with God's morality, and God's morality never changes? So in your worldview today, in 2024, you agree that it's morally permissible to capture a woman in battle and grape her. That's a war crime.
No, I'm saying the Old Testament is not... Show me where that happened in the New Testament.
See, you're asking a question that's impossible to answer because you know
that because you can't answer it because the laws changed after Jesus came to die on that cross.
But it's still your God.
Changed.
Swizz, it's still your God, and Jesus is the one saying this in the Old Testament. According to you, Jesus is saying this.
According to you, the laws. You're saying the laws of. You're saying the way. I get what you're saying. You're saying the ways of the Old Testament and all that didn't change. The morality. Okay,
Jesus said that.
Show me where that happened in the. Show me where any of that happened in the New Testament after Jesus came and died on the cross.
Jesus himself says that nothing in the Old Testament will change. Oh, thank you for the fast. Appreciate that.
No,
thank you, Dreff.
You're saying.
Okay, I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you again. Jesus is saying not one bit of the old law will be abolished. He's saying, I didn't come to destroy the old law. He says, don't think that I have come to destroy the law of Moses or the teaching of the prophets. I have come not to destroy their teachings, but to give full meaning to them. I assure you, nothing will disappear from the law until heaven and earth are gone. The law will not lose even the smallest letter or the smallest part of a letter until it has all been done. A person should obey every command in the law, even one that does not seem important. Whoever refuses to obey any command and teaches others not to obey it will be the least important in God's kingdom. But whoever obeys the law and teaches others to obey it will be great in God's kingdom. That's Jesus saying that not one little bit of the Old Testament law will change until it is all done, until the heaven and the earth are gone. Bro, you are one Kentucky Fried Christian right now, I'll be honest.
No,
you are one Kentucky Fried Christian.
You just mix up the word. You threw in all this Old Testament stuff. That's every
That's
one
what
of
it
you guys'
says.
argument is the
That's
Old
what it
Testament.
says.
But when it comes to after Jesus died on the cross,
This is Jesus in the Old Testament writings. This is Jesus.
show me where all of that bad stuff happened in the New Testament. Anything bad, please.
I don't have to because Jesus says
because you can't.
Swizz?
Because Jesus died on the cross and saved everybody from hell that chooses not to go.
Jesus,
and you know that. You know
Jesus himself says not one bit of the old law will be abolished, and that you must still obey it until the heaven and the earth are gone.
Let's
Jesus,
go back real quick.
and what you're saying, what you're asking me to say is, you're saying that there's going to be a verse that cancels out Deuteronomy 21:10-14.
Listen though. All of you guys' argument, every single is from the Old Testament when things were different. And when you get asked about show me something from the New Testament.
Tiny violins in the chat.
You can't. That's the thing.
Swizz is a crybaby. He's Kentucky Fried Christian, and he is crying his ass off right now.
And when this guy gets proved that there's nothing wrong in the New Testament, he cries.
Spam the tiny violins in the chat, guys.
Oh man. Hey,
dude, you said you were going to come up. You got absolutely destroyed, bro. You got absolutely cooked. I completely slapped you around with your own book.
That's fine, but can I ask you one thing?
Beat you up with it. I beat you up with your own book.
Respectfully, what's your goal to this? I'm curious. Like, what's your goal in all this? I'm curious.
I just love watching Christians squirm and flip flop and try to make excuses for their pathetic, evil piece of shit God.
And what did God do to you? What made you?
God isn't real.
So much?
God isn't real. How can I hate something that isn't real?
So if he isn't real, then why are you worried about spreading how he's not real? Why wouldn't you just let it be?
I never said God's not. I'm not convinced that God isn't real, but I've never claimed that
you just said God isn't real.
I meant to say I'm not convinced that your God is real, but I'm not telling you like positively that your God does not exist. Your God could exist, and I could be wrong. But I already told you, even if you were to prove the existence of this God to me, I would never worship this God. This God is a violent, bloodthirsty maniac.
Besides all these verses and things, what made you like hate God so much? Like what happened in your life?
I don't believe that your God is real. How could I hate your God? I hate your beliefs
and try to prove everybody wrong.
I hate your beliefs, your ideology. Your beliefs are dangerous and violent and harmful.
How so? Because my God shows
you are a dangerous person. You are a violent person. You are a harmful person. Leviticus 20.
How is that dangerous when our God? Well, my God tells me, actually, whoever believes in Jesus, he tells us to love others.
Sir, Jesus says to hate your family. But anyways, Leviticus 20:13 says that gay people should be put to death. Do you agree with that?
This is all from the Old Testament. This is all.
This is your God. This is your God. Your God is still your God. Your God never changes, and the Old Testament will not change until the heaven and the earth are gone. Jesus says that. So in Leviticus 20:13, where God commands that gay people be put to death, do you agree with that? You agree with God's morality there when He thinks that gay people should be put to death, or do you disagree with your God?
This is the argument. You're throwing all the Old Testament and the Bible and
see. This is why I think that you're a harmful person, because you refuse to just immediately say no. Of course, gay people shouldn't be put to death. They're not hurting anybody. They're just loving who they love.
Would you agree that there was?
You didn't answer that. You didn't say that. You refused to say whether they should be put to death or not. It's a very easy.
I just want to pick your brain though. Do you believe Jesus died on the cross?
I have no reason to believe that he didn't, but I also have no reason to believe that he rose from the dead like a zombie.
Do you believe that if you die for somebody that you truly love them with all your heart?
If you die for somebody that you truly love them, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Why not?
So, what gain did he have by doing that? Like, what did he gain?
Well, none of this is going to prove anything supernatural. He might have died because he loved those people, but I have no reason to believe that he rose from the dead like a zombie. That's where the story ends for me. I could agree, I could concede that there was this man who walked around on the earth named Jesus, claiming to be the Son of God, and the Romans were like, dude, you can't say that, that's blasphemy, and Jesus ran his mouth and got himself executed on a cross. That's where the story ends for me. I have no evidence.
There was
I have no evidence.
500 eyewitnesses.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You have a book. You have one book that claims there was 500 eyewitnesses. You can't name any of these eyewitnesses. And all of the Gospels were written decades after Jesus supposedly lived on the earth. And all of the Gospels are anonymous. Nobody knows who wrote the Gospels. The entire book was written by
anonymous. No one knows who wrote history books. Well, some of them, yeah, that would be ridiculous. My bad.
The ancient texts, the 3,000-year-old Gospels or whatever they are, you have one book that claims there was 500 eyewitnesses. You don't have 500 eyewitnesses.
Why does no one ever argue with history and all that? Back to...
there's a difference between history and supernatural. I've just conceded to you that sure, maybe there was this guy named Jesus who walked on the earth and ran his mouth claiming to be God, and he got himself executed. Fine. That's where the story ends. You have no evidence, you have no proof, you have nothing that we can demonstrate or verify or test that he wrote, that he defied every law of reality and rose from the dead like a zombie. And it doesn't matter how many people that one ancient book claims saw it. It doesn't matter that one 3,000-year-old dusty book claims that 1 million people saw a man rise from the dead. It doesn't make it true. There's no way to verify it or to test it or to prove it or to demonstrate it. That's why you just take it on faith, Swizz. You don't know that Jesus rose from the dead. You just believe it on faith.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe it is just faith. And
of course it is.
The last thing I'll say, man, is I'll pray for you, dude. I really will. I'll pray for everybody in the audience, and I hope you have a good day.
Well, you pray for me, and I'm going to ask Santa Claus to take you off the naughty list, okay?
Okay. You enjoy your day, man. All
right, you too, Swizz. Thank you. Yeah, praying for me is equivalent to me asking Santa to take you off the naughty list. That's exactly what praying for me is. All right, guys, I have to get going here. Been live for a little over 2 hours. If you guys have enjoyed this live stream, make sure you click my follow button up there, guys, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube if you want to go back and watch the full live stream. If you were a guest that's on here today, if you want to watch our conversation, go back and watch the full live stream. You can see where you were wrong and where I was right. So make sure you guys go subscribe to my YouTube. The link is in the bio. I'm so close to 600 subs on YouTube. I think I might be there by now. But I really appreciate you guys. And if you hate me, if you love me, I really appreciate you watching. And thank you for the gifts, guys. And I hope that you were entertained here today, because I just want to be entertaining for you guys. And yeah, love all of you guys. Thank you for the gifts. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I couldn't go live for very much longer, but I do have some stuff I got to go get done today. So yeah, you come out here and cook me maybe tomorrow or the next day, but I'm pretty sure that I didn't get cooked today. I might have, but if you want to see if I did get cooked, go subscribe to my YouTube and go watch the full live stream. I have all of my full live streams on there, guys. So if you guys are looking for some new entertaining content to listen to while you're cleaning or driving or going to work or whatever, consider putting on my YouTube live streams in the background and check them out. I really appreciate you guys. And if you guys thought this was blasphemy, good, because I had a lot of fun. It was a blast for me too. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.